we appropriated 2 duplex machines for the SWAT teams. Personal PPE was provided and restocked, and pagers were programmed and distributed. In a pre- or post-COVID setting, this would have taken months to develop and many committees to endure. We set this up in 24 hours. Meaningful change from collaboration in times of crisis can happen. And we answered the call, placing over 500 lines in just the first month that we provided this service. And we did it well, and we did it safely, with a complication rate below 1%. And everyone stepped up in a way that we could all be extremely proud of. We worked together to change our scope of work completely, but to do so in a way that leveraged our skill set. Another unique collaboration that I've had the opportunity to observe has been the formation of the U.S. Aortic Research Consortium. I see this as an example of how powerful collaboration can be towards moving our field forward. This collaboration consists of 10 sites, all running physician-sponsored investigational device exemption studies. All sites are independently monitored and audited by FDA, and we all use similar device designs with selective use of fenestrations and branches. While I'm proud of the contributions we've made as a single center, reporting on our experience with complex aortic repairs, I believe this model is the past. Larger collaborative efforts can advance the technology and science so much faster. Collaborations like ARC are the best way to study, test, validate, and roll out new technologies. I believe this model is the future. As a high-performing collaborative team, we can achieve so much more with greater efficiency and efficacy. And we now have enrolled 2,833 consecutive fenestrated branch repair patients with over 10,000 target arteries incorporated, with this data set growing every single day with real-time prospective data entry. This effort already represents the largest database in the world by several orders of magnitude ever assembled evaluating these technologies. And we've started to see some of the tangible benefits from this effort, with multiple studies presented and published from this experience on many diverse topics critically important to evolving these new transformative technologies. The second daughter theme I'd like to discuss is innovation. As vascular surgeons, innovation is part of our DNA, and this goes all the way back to the early days. Innovation is the foundation of our specialty, and it's important to understand how the history of innovation in our specialty defines it and has kept vascular surgery at the forefront. This is how we started in vascular surgery, using cautery to stop bleeding. Sir, I'm just going to heat up this iron rod in this fire and apply it to your site of bleeding. You're going to feel a little bit of pressure, sir. And then came Ambrose Paré, lived between 1510 to 1590, and he was the first to challenge cautery and use ligatures for bleeding arteries. And John Hunter, pictured here, lived between 1728 to 1793. He described collateral artery enlargement and was the first to propose Hunterian repair of aneurysms with popliteal artery aneurysm proximal ligation. And a number of theoretical breakthroughs then came in the 1800s with the knowledge that gangrene is due to obstruction of the arteries. Claudication was described with post-mortem discovery of thrombosed terminal aorta, and detailed descriptions of intermittent claudication and cold ischemic extremities were put forward. We understood peripheral artery disease, but there was no practical way to treat this because we still could not connect blood vessels. And as you can see from this quote by Dr. Heineke, subjects will bleed to death through suture holes and the opposed edges of the arterial wall. But then came Alexis Carrel, who lived between 1873 to 1948, and changed this by pioneering the suturing of blood vessels using techniques like suture triangulation, a key innovation for which he was awarded the Nobel Prize in 1912. And from here, innovation took off with the development of X-ray. And in 1923, the first angiogram by injecting sodium iodide and imaging for the first time the femoral popliteal system. And a few years later, in 1929, Dr. Santos performed the first translumbar aortography. And the next transformative innovations revolved around conduit. In the early 20th century, various reports were published using vein to replace damaged arteries, culminating in 1948 with Cunlin's description of the first vein bypass. In World War I, attempts were made to replace arteries with tubes of metal and glass, And then, in the 1940s, arterial homographs were used for aortic replacement. In the 1950s, we started the phase of prosthetic graft development with Vignon N artificial grafts, described in 1952 by Dr. Voorhees, and that evolved to current Dacron grafts, first described by surgical giants DeBakey, Cooley, and Crawford in 1958. And aortic therapy had its own evolution in the early 1900s, with a host of different attempts to arrest aneurysm growth, ranging from external clamp devices, fascial compression, wall irritants to induce scarring, rubber tube constriction, and probably the best known is this is the failed treatment that Albert Einstein had for his aneurysm, cellophane wrapping with the hopes of inducing scar to stop growth. So by the late 1950s, we understood the concept. Arterial occlusion causes ischemia. We had the necessary techniques. Blood vessels can be sutured together. We could image blood vessels with angiography, and we had the necessary conduits to bring blood from point A to point B using vein, homograft, or synthetic. And look how far we've come from there. We can image arteries from outside the skin using non-invasive ultrasound. And we can do this with wireless, portable probes that now fit in our pockets and connect wirelessly directly to our smartphones. We can also image the inside of arteries using intravascular ultrasound with amazing resolution, like this image on the left of a dissection, where we see the true lumen and the false lumen. We can see the origin of branch arteries, like in this image on the right, showing the superior mesenteric artery. And these two vascular surgeons, pioneers, have completely transformed the way we think about aneurysm treatment, changing the paradigm developed in the 1950s from open surgery with direct exposure of the aorta to endovascular repair using catheter and wire manipulation through needle holes. And we've come so far using 3D fusion imaging to create three-dimensional maps that we can adjust to match up with a patient's position on the table, thereby enabling complex repairs like this that could not even be imagined 20 years ago. Leading to repairs like this 3-vessel retrograde arch repair that leverages new designs and device configurations to perform this repair with a single femoral artery access for deployment of all devices and all bridging branch stent grafts. No upper extremity access or supra-aortic cut-downs for the delivery of any of these devices. And this is what the patient looked like at his 1-month visit. Look at his smile. This guy's optimistic about the future, but he's optimistic about the present of vascular surgery. And we are slowly starting to break our dependence on radiation. We are definitely not there yet, but there are new technologies on the horizon that will allow us to decrease the amount of radiation we are all exposed to while doing these procedures. Fiber optic reel shape is one of these that leverages fiber optic cables embedded in wires and catheters to reconstruct in real time with amazing precision the three-dimensional position of a wire and catheter. As shown here, with no X-ray use at all, we're able to track a wire and then a catheter into the SMA using a three-dimensional computer-simulated model with ring markers for the vessel of interest. We can watch the wire advance in yellow and the catheter advance in blue. As we saw this morning, we can look in multiple projections, and we can spin that model around in any way we want to work at angles that we would never be able to obtain with conventional X-ray machines. We can do this using different segmented or mesh models. And right now, we are using this routinely for these radiation-intense steps of complex aortic repair. It works well for wire and catheter navigation steps, but we still need X-ray to see the actual fenestrated devices. But what if we could register these devices just like we register the patient's position on the table? All of a sudden, we can now make the leap to doing almost all of the procedure without X-ray. So I asked the question, what is next? I won't answer that, but I will implore this group to keep asking that question. Keep asking, keep pushing. Because I believe that innovation is part of our vascular surgery DNA. It's what makes us who we are, and we need to double down on a commitment to innovate. Some of it will certainly not work, but if we keep the patient at the center, we will get better and better. This is a great book about Jennifer Doudna and the discovery of CRISPR technology. And as one of Dr. Doudna's collaborators said, at the end of the day, the discoveries are what endure. We are just passing on the planet for a short time. we do our job, and then we leave, and others pick up the work. So during our time, let's do our job and make the world a better place, and continue to make vascular surgery the best job in the world. The third dot, or theme, I would like to discuss relates to our trainees, because just as innovation will define our future, so will our trainees. We are incredibly well positioned and incredibly fortunate as a specialty to be attracting the best students and residents. Our match has become the second most competitive match of all specialties. This last year, there were 1.7 applicants for each of the positions available. And over there on the left, plastic surgery at number 1, watch out, we're coming for you. I told you how important mentorship has been to me. To all in this room, lean into mentorship. We all have something to offer, and I'm often reminded how little it can take to inspire a student, and I believe we need to start earlier. One of our trainees, Emily Fan, who is a PGY5 and presented at this meeting, received grant funding to increase diversity in surgery. She will promote awareness of careers in vascular surgery for high school and college students in Worcester, and host local students for summer immersion experiences with our division. The time horizon to see results for innovative programs like this is long, but the payoff for such activities has the potential to be huge. And for the students and trainees in the room, seek out mentorship. Bring enthusiasm and passion to the table. As I mentioned, it was just one enthusiastic email to Roy Greenberg, sent the day after I finished my training, that changed the entire trajectory of my career. To the trainees and students, thank you for the energy and promise you bring to our field. We created this PowerPoint slide at UMass for our interview day presentation back in 2008, and it's been the final message of our presentation every year since, and we continue to stand by this message. Enthusiasm and passion will take you much further than you think. The fourth dot or theme I would like to discuss is diversity, equity, and inclusion. As we evolve, DEI is a key to that evolution. We need to look like the patients we serve. We need to have people with different perspectives and lived experiences to get new ideas that we did not even know that we needed. The science is clear that teams that bring different perspectives and experiences have greater productivity and innovation. This is what the future of vascular surgery looks like. These are our trainees, of course, propping up our fearless residency program director, Dr. Simons. This is not what vascular surgery looked like to me when I was a trainee. Change is happening, never fast enough, but it is happening. We need to double down on DEI efforts. We need to embrace it. We need to be intentional. The recruitment of our trainees is intentional. This NESVS postgraduate course, put together 2 years ago by our current secretary, Keith Ozaki, where every speaker was a woman, is intentional. Ensuring that every single session across the entire SVS VAMP program, first session to last, has at least one moderator that is a woman or an underrepresented minority is intentional. And we are doing this, you'll notice, for all the NESVS programming as well. This makeup of the NESVS Executive Council is intentional. I've said it now a few times, but I'll say it again. This is not what the NESVS leadership looked like to me when I first attended this meeting in 2005. This makeup brings with it a palpable energy and strength, and as this year's president, I've benefited from and ridden this wave of energy. Having a vascular surgery faculty that is outstanding in every regard and looks like this is intentional. We've made progress, but we clearly have so much further to go. As providers, we need to build a workforce that looks more like our patients so we can better care for our patients. This isn't about committees and statements and tweets. It's about hiring, promoting, paying, and acknowledging the indisputable fact that diversity makes us better. If you're not bringing underrepresented groups to the table in whatever leadership capacity you have, then you are the problem. We need to do this not for ourselves, but for our patients, for our trainees, and for our society. And I again acknowledge the leadership of Dr. Fury and Dr. Blazin bring to this society, helping to push us to consider DEI in every decision we make. I also want to acknowledge past President Dr. Schermerhorn, who addressed our society on this very topic 2 years ago, and in doing so, delivered what I believe is one of the best presidential addresses I've heard from any society. And I'll use his very words: be an advocate for change. That time is now. We have another challenge ahead of us, and I truly believe we are up to the task. We are up to the task. We have to be, and we will be. The fifth and final daughter theme I would like to discuss is our patients. Finally, and most importantly, why am I optimistic about our future as a specialty? Because of our amazing patients. They are the ones that make all this work worthwhile. They are the ones that inspire us to get up each morning, deal with the challenges that we all encounter every single day, EMRs, e-learning, coding and billing, litigations, pre-authorizations, meetings, and yes, I know that list goes on. But this is the magic. Seeing patients like this better able to enjoy their lives, hopefully, because of the care we provide them. What's the cure for burnout? I really don't know. It's different for everyone. For me, it's rounding on my patients once in the morning and once before I head home in the evening. That is what keeps me going. And I believe these rich, long-term relationships with our patients, unique to vascular surgery, is what will keep us thriving as a field. I'd like to close a bit more lighthearted and invite all of you into my office at work. Like most, I've got a lot of knickknacks and memories, but I'll share one of the most important. Early in my career, I wrote a paper that got a lot of criticism. Since, that message has been embraced, but when it came out, it was rough, with a lot of leaders in the field very upset with what it said. Some past presidents from this great society, including the current president when it was published, in no uncertain terms, told me and others, your research is garbage. And this is for the trainees and young faculty in the room who will undoubtedly face challenges. When you do, remember this and try to take yourself a little less seriously. I know that I need to do this often. And this letter really helps to put things into perspective. Here's a letter that my niece, Shayla Goldberg, wrote in 5th grade. She's now on her way to medical school, and I'd like to read it to you. So this was addressed to the editors in circulation, and I was copied. Please leave my Uncle Andy alone. He may not know a lot about arteries and veins, and his research may be terrible, but he's a great uncle. My Uncle Andy takes me camping, buys me ice cream, he's a great soccer player, and he's even sat through my 4-hour dance recital 2 years in a row. Now say you're sorry. So in summary, collaborate, innovate, mentor, champion DEI, and relish the opportunity to form deep connections with our amazing patients. And always keep the patient at the center. If we do this, I believe the rest will take care of itself in amazing ways. Because this line that I've showed you throughout this talk, it's not about any one person or any one career. It's certainly not about mine. It's about our field and advancing it by sticking to and leveraging these key anchor values that make vascular surgery so specialty. As I bring this address to a close, I'll share another quote from one of my favorite books that I've recently read. I ask these questions today to everyone in this room because we all lead in one way or another. How do you want to be remembered as a leader? Someone with a big personality or someone around whom other people grow? If we all commit to grow the people around us, our field will advance in ways that we can't even imagine. I hope that taking a look at some of the dots I've experienced and observed that make me so optimistic help to make you optimistic. We can create a bold new future for vascular surgery. It's go time. Thank you very much for this incredible honor to serve as your president. The society and our specialty are healthy and strong. It's go time. Thank you very much.